You good?
Should be now.
Huh?
He should be able to hear you now.
Can you hear us, Bob?
Yep.
Let me call the meeting to order, the meeting of the Highlands Town Board for November 21st, 2024. The first item on our agenda will be a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd now ask you to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Now, if we'll all stand for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Our next item is a statement of conflict of interest. I call the statement to the attention of the board members. It's published in the agenda. If anyone has a conflict of interest on any item tonight, they will need to, of course, declare that conflict. The next item is public comment, and I'm going to open the floor for anyone who would like to come and make a public comment tonight. I appreciate you holding your comments to no more than 3 minutes. But if anyone would like to now come and make a comment, I would invite you to come to the table and please state your name so we can get that in the minutes of the proceedings. So,
Thank you for having me. Heather Lowe Prine.
go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. It's come to my attention, we have been coming up here since 1986, our family. And so we have seen Highlands through non-alcohol times, bad restaurants. And now, of course, we've progressed and have very fine restaurants. And we do have alcohol in our community. I believe that we are at a crossroads for Highlands. I think that we have to decide who and what we are. Are we going to be Martha's Vineyard or are we going to be Daytona Beach? And I say that because we have several things happening in Highlands and we need to decide what we're going to do about that. Many people come up here because they want what we have, which is peace, it's elegance, and other people come up and they want to make a quick buck. They don't live here and they don't really care. And they leave a trail of destruction behind them. And then we have to clean up after the mess. So if you don't mind, I'm going to put my glasses on because I'd like to clarify my points. If we want the integrity of our town to remain the same, I think that we're at a crossroads where we have to get tough about who and what we are and what decisions we're going to make. It has come to my attention, I live on Carolina Way. I have a building on Carolina Way, I should say. When I bought the building, I was told that we are in a fire zone. And I honor that because I told Macon County and I also told Highlands, whatever you need me to do, I'm willing to do because that is the safety of our town. I passed every inspection except for one. There was a hangar that Mr. Denlow wanted me to do and I did. The people who have the farmhouse around the corner from us, they put out a little shed and they were told that we're in a fire zone and the shed has to be non-flammable and they complied. On the street of Carolina, we got rid of the brewery and we have a person now who is going to apparently open a place for alcohol consumption for 15 people. It doesn't sound like a real good business plan to me, but 15 people, that's it. we need to make sure that as we go along, these codes are enforced, like fire codes. I put up 2 walls on the roof to the tune of $30,000. I asked both Dale and Amber if they would like to join in to make the building safe. Both said that they were not in the process of remodeling, that it was up to me. So now we have this person who now owns both sides of 448 Carolina Way. As I said, one of the ideas is it's a alcoholic dispensary for 15 people. The other is going to be a nonprofit furniture store. The person came here in front of this committee and said, our idea is that we are going to have these buildings be upscale. So on one hand, it's going to be a used furniture, non-for-profit store and people drinking alcohol on the other. That doesn't say to me upscale. This is the kind of thing that I'm discussing with you so that, yes, we do have to give permits. I get that you have a certain criteria, but what is good for Highlands? That is my concern. Even though they can do this, is it wise to do it? We have what was the Meritage restaurant, we have the High Dive, and we also have the Bull. I don't think that we need another alcohol situation on Carolina Way. We've become a frat house. I think that the people here don't understand that after you all go home, what happens to that street? We have the party vans coming. They stop at the High Dive. I'm not blaming the High Dive. Please get that straight. But what I am saying is that we have people from weddings come and they get drunk. They vomit on the street. They throw cigarettes and we don't have sidewalks. And they're walking in the middle of the street and they're misbehaving. We also have crime in the alleyways. So again, I go back to who and what we are now in Highlands. Are we going to maintain our integrity or are we suddenly going to have a tattoo shop on Main Street? Are we going to have a vape shop? Are we going to maintain our quality restaurants? Are we going to put in Bojangles? Are we going to put in McDonald's? So we have to decide now, even though, yes, it's possible, what can we do to maintain the integrity of our town so that we are in leisure magazines, we are in Condé Nast, and people want to come here and spend money in McCulley's, Lulu's, Rosenthal's. This is the kind of thing that we want to maintain. So one other thing that I would like to bring up. We have a problem with parking in the town. You know better than I what the building is, the bank building across the street on Carolina Way, sandwiched between the park. I have a suggestion, don't know if it's doable, don't know what the plans are, but it was brought to my attention that the bank building has been playing badminton back and forth with their intention. They wanted a permit for this, and apparently it was granted, and then they said they wanted a permit for what it used to be. Now that's granted as well. My idea is this. Instead of tearing down our wonderful little playhouse on the hill, why don't we tear the bank building down? Let's buy it. The reason why is mostly blacktopped. If we don't have donors, we can do what the car wash place does. You stick your little credit card in and you park. This helps not only our tourists, but it also helps our employees and people are a block from town. And we can have the town landscape, we can have tape landscape, but that way we can pay for it if we don't have donors, and then up to the point of when we actually make the money back, we can stop the little credit card thing. But I do feel that we need more parking. I think that it also maintains the integrity of the town, if that is possible. I think it would be an excellent idea to pursue. And the other thing that I just want to say is we're thankful for people like you. We have many great people in town like Lamar and all of the other people who maintain our town. I think that this is the kind of thing that we have to remember. And also remember one other thing. When we ask people to donate money, whether it's to the Playhouse or other ventures, we have to maintain what we said we're setting out to do. These people are giving us their hard-earned cash. Yes, we have a lot of rich people, but they earned it. And we have to maintain why we're asking them for money. And they're expecting us to keep our word. To me, I think that it's worth keeping the Playhouse, but you all know better than I. Again, thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Appreciate it. Would someone else like to make a public comment? Floor is open. Hearing none, we'll now move on to the next item, and that will be to review and approve the agenda. Do we have any changes to the proposed agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve it as presented.
Okay, very good. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, the next item will be the approval of the October 17th regular meeting minutes. Do we have any changes, corrections, or clarification to those proposed minutes?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor, please indicate by raising your hand and saying aye. Thank you. Okay, the next item will be the reports. So let me go over the mayor's report first, and then we'll go from there. I visited at the invitation of Ryan Bryson, who's doing the repairs to 106 this past week. And Matt Eberts made a video about that whole project. And as the news and media have covered this week, it will not be a quick fix. It's a real challenge, but I'm very optimistic that Ryan and Bryson's paving and grading will do a great job and get that road up as soon as possible without delay. So I'll keep you posted if there's any changes on that progress. Also had a meeting with Josh and myself and the folks from Hotwire this past week, and we brought up an issue, and that was that they had committed to putting in a downtown Wi-Fi system for Highlands. They are working on that. They actually sent us a proposed design for that this week also. One of the things that they want to do is to do an excellent job where you have fiber going at key points where you get the broadcasting, so there'll be no loss of signal as it goes through the town, and we'll be sharing those plans and everything as they become more definite. But they are moving toward building a Wi-Fi system for our business district. Also want
Mayor,
to,
can I ask a question
Yeah.
real quick? Would that be something that they would, I mean, who would foot the bill for that? Because that sounds like a Chamber of Commerce.
it's, that will be the partner that they'll be
Okay.
working with them on that.
Okay.
Okay. And then we have I want to thank the Highlands Country Club and Old Edwards Inn for their contributions to the paving of Arnold Road. And of course, we're being a partner with those organizations. And I just checked with Lamar, we're just one top coat of asphalt away from having that final road project done here in town. And then finally, let me cover the power outage that we've been trying to communicate to people, that we will be seeing a power outage occur at 11 p.m., that is at night, on Monday, and it will go for about 5 to 6 hours to about 5 a.m. on Tuesday morning. Duke Energy is having to cut the power to the town because there's some critical utility poles and lines that have to be upgraded and repaired in the context of Hurricane Helene out on Hicks Road and other places. Also, some of their substations need some repair from the hurricane. And this was the time that they can do it. It's a good time in that it's a Monday and not a weekend. And hopefully they can get that done because, of course, we'll be seeing a large number of people in town for Thanksgiving and Christmas where the demand for power will be at its peak. And Duke just felt like they could not put this off or delay given the impending holiday. So I'm hoping that everything will go well. And also they sent out a message that if you wake up in the morning at 7 o'clock and your power isn't on, then that's the time to let us know that there's a problem. But they anticipate this whole work taking about 6 hours. So then that's my report, and now I'll turn it over to the commissioners for any updates or reports they have. No reports, okay. Then we'll go to the town manager, Josh Ward.
Some updates on some of our grant projects, the Dog Mountain Waterline Replacement Project. We've almost got a final approval to send that out for bids. It'll probably be bid in December. I think it's a 45-day bid period. The contract or the engineer said that they should have a contract in front of you guys in February to approve. And so that would mean hopefully a March start for that construction. Also, the water treatment plant improvements, we received the intent to fund letter from them. So the ball is rolling on that. They have given us, Department of Environmental Quality through the state has given us the proposed start date on that, which would be September 1st of 2026. I think the Mirror Lake dredging, I think was supposed to start sometime in the early 26. So those are sometime out. The paving, as the mayor said, they're finishing Arnold Road. Gibson was finished last week or week before last, along with all of our other streets. Chowan had some damage due to a busted water line up there right before the storm. So Bryson's will be going up there and fixing Chowan and opening that back up, hopefully in the next few weeks as well. Town Hall will be closed next week for Thanksgiving on Thursday and Friday, the 28th and the 29th.
And garbage service will continue.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next item is the consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions about the consent agenda? I have two observations, or three. I was looking at the consent agenda, and I thought the police report where the dog got in the car on the driver's side and would not cooperate.
That's what I wanted to talk to you
Yeah.
about.
That was interesting. And then I did notice, I think, Josh, we have on the holiday list a typo with some 24 dates, like for Thanksgiving, that we need to just, technically change. And then I like that the way we're doing the inspection chart now, that makes it very easy to see what's been permitted and where it stands. So anybody have any other questions about the consent agenda before I ask for a motion to approve?
Move we approve it.
Second.
Second, okay. All in favor, please indicate by raising your hand, saying aye. Thank you. Okay, the next item will be an update on the Mirror Lake dredging project. There's a lot of activity going on and equipment there. And the Mirror Lake Homeowners Association, Improvement Association, they are funding and overseeing this first phase of the project. And we felt like that the board would like an update as well as the community. So we've asked John Bryan of Riversand to come, and Pat Gleason is with him to talk about the plan and how we're getting underway with the first phase. John?
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me tonight. Like you said, I'm John with Riversand, and we've just started and we've just contracted about a month ago and started on the work of the mobilization to improve the lake there. And I appreciate the town and their support through this process. It goes back quite a ways and you've been very supportive, and that's not always the case, but I think with this resource, everyone realizes what an important resource and a beautiful resource it can be. And Pat's sitting here beside me. He's part of and heading up the Mirror Lake Improvement Association, which from my first meeting, maybe 5 years ago, they've had a need. And I remember driving by Mirror Lake thinking somebody needs to call me about that. And we drove by doing other work up here, and we got that call one day from another fella, and they have a team put together that I meet with a lot of associations, a lot of different groups like this. And sometimes the task seems very overwhelming and had been tried before. And they've been incredibly dedicated, spent a lot of time, ton of support, giving me what I needed to move forward and put a plan together. And we've worked together to create that plan. So we're in what we call the phase one of that plan. And this is funded through them. So just want to it's important that somebody's looking after the resource, and I think that's something that they have in place to continue in the future with maintenance and even past this as we move through it over the next few years. So that's kind of where we've been to. Now that we've started, we're mobilizing in, and part of the process is there's just not a lot of available space there. Most of it's already developed or within the body of water. So we have very limited space where we can both access the lake, and it's basically divided by a bridge that is very limited. You can't pass underneath it just because of the height. And so we have two access points on either side of the lake so that we can access those. One has already been a canoe launch. You're kind of familiar with both of them there at the bridge. And then we have a dewatering site that we've been setting up. And we've got that in place now, set up, ready for, there's a few final tweaks we'll do before we start pumping in that, but there'll essentially be, what we're going to do is launch a dredge later on. That's kind of, I've went through this a few times, so it may be a repeat for a few of you, but basically a big vacuum cleaner boat that is essentially like that, where it actually pumps water and sediment. It goes through a pipeline. That pipeline will go underneath the bridge along Colisaja Drive over to the dewatering area, where that slurry goes into this bag, and it's kind of like your vacuum cleaner filter bag. Instead of air and dirt, it goes in water and dirt. The water, clean water comes out, returns to the lake. The dirt or sediment stays in the dewatering tube, where it'll eventually dry out over some time. It takes a little bit of time for it to filter out of it. And once it dries out, we cut it open, load it onto trucks, and haul it away. So that's one of those, that's kind of the overall process of what's going to happen. The thing is, we're on a very small area. We've got a lot of sediment within the lake. So it's going to be a cyclical process where you're constantly doing this over and over again, and it takes a little bit of time. But so far, we've set up those access areas to be able to launch the equipment. We'll be coming in over the next couple of weeks. We'll actually be coming in, and this pipeline is an 8-inch plastic, HDPE plastic pipeline that you fuse together so it's seamless. And you actually build it there on site, so it comes in about 50-foot sections. So we'll be putting those in sections, putting it in place. It'll still allow for access and everything, so it really doesn't block anything. You probably wouldn't even notice it if you weren't paying attention to it. We'll put that in. There are some orange floats that go on it that just help it float so it doesn't sink too much while we're pumping the sediment through it. And it'll be in place. We'll also bring in a larger excavator. If you've been out there, there's a small one there now. We'll have a long reach excavator that'll help unload the material once it's dried and dewatered. So it's coming in, and that purpose of that one as well is to prep the launch site for the dredge. The dredge has to have a few feet to put the dredge in the water. So we'll prep that site, be ready for it to come in. And once we get that set up, that's probably going to be mid-December, January, depending on the weather, and thankfully the road construction things, we're coming from that side of town. So we've changed up our plan a little bit over the past few weeks, but we've got an alternate access in, of course, and it's been working well. But we'll bring in the dredge, launch it in, and set it up. But we'll probably be in the middle of January, which if you're here tonight, you know it's getting colder. So pumping water in the middle of, we've done it through the winter up here before, and you can get only a few hours a day by the time you thaw everything out. And even the dewatering tube, we've had ice hanging off those. So we'll probably delay until it warms up just a little bit more. And as soon as it gets enough warmth during the day so that we're not thawing out every day, come this spring, we'll start this dewatering cycle. Our dredge is capable of pumping a lot of material, but you're really dewatering this material. And what we'll do is probably pump for about a week, where we're moving the sediment into the bag. Then basically it's another week for it to dewater. It dries out enough so that we can have a few days of hauling it off site. And then you reset the bag back up and start the process again. And there'll be a few of those cycles, probably 5 or 6 of those cycles, which will probably take, with the weather included and everything, where you have your rain days, because even where we take it and things like that, there's some just related to rain and dewatering, that there's some times that you're just going to lose quite a bit of weather days. So you're probably looking at 3 to 4 months to get this phase of this cycle done, where we're looking at removing sediment adjacent to the bridge there. That's where both the confluence of the Colisaja and Mill Creek come together. There's a huge impacted area, and you can see after Hurricane Helene, it's actually, you can see the progress of it just kind of continuing to build. And we'll go in before we start dredging and measure how much is there And then after we get done, we'll take another snapshot and basically compare those in a computer software program that allows us to see how much we've removed and what's left and be able to plan out the next steps after that. So this will be thousands of cubic yards, and it's going to be a lot of material moved out, but there's also a lot there. So that'll kind of be the process. While we're dredging, we're moving a lot of material, but it probably looks more uneventful after we get set up. You'll think, it's sitting there a lot, but we're actually waiting on that dewatering process to occur at times. And even while the dredge is moving, the part underwater is the part that moves. So you may not even know we're dredging while we're actually doing the process as well. So, but in the end, we're thankful that we've got those permits set up with North Carolina and the Corps, and we're moving forward. Everything's been going well so far. So.
I mean, will you just use one bag? Do you have a zipper on it or something? Or-
So when we cut them open, that they're non-reusable. So
Yeah.
you cut them open, you pull it out, and typically it creates a seal inside. So you throw that one away and put another one there for each time. So unfortunately,
Mhm.
but that's typical of the process, especially, and there's not many places where you can put out enough bags to hold the entire amount of a project at one time.
How far are you having to truck it, the sediment?
We're looking about 10 miles, 10 to 20 miles. So we've got a couple of alternate sites as we build up, and we're looking for, anything closer in the meantime, especially as we have a few months out. And some of these sites, may become available even with that. So.
Okay.
Does the
Pat?
town need any fill?
Don't know.
No.
You would entertain if someone said, I'd like to have some fill, you might consider accommodating their
We
need.
made an appeal to both Rotary clubs, for any property owners that might need some fill. We approached a couple golf courses,
Okay. Any questions of John or Pat? And John, when do you think that you would be completing this and pulling your equipment and everything out?
I think we're looking at a couple, and that's one of the things, if we continue at that point, and that's where Josh was just talking about, the next phase that's coming through the town would probably start in 2026. So we could we'll see where we get with this one and see whether there's more interest in doing anything else. But at that point, if not, then we can be that 3 to 4 months, into the summertime of 2025. That would be when we complete the work. So.
Okay. And then I have one other question because, people have said, those people are going to build a parking lot where the bag is and so forth. What is your plan for restoration? Because you will have gravel and stuff there.
Well, that'll all be pulled back out. If we'll actually come back in, pull that back out. We have to have a level place. It has to be perfectly level, or those bags will actually roll, if even with the slightest amount of grade there. So they have to be level. And that also allows us to dewater it, return that clean water without any contamination. So we'll put plastic down so that it actually doesn't hit even the gravel. But that helps with the dewatering process as well. But once we get that back out, we'll put it back in like it was before.
Okay.
So, and that'll be the thing, especially as folks see that and be able to put it back. So.
if the town gets any calls on where's my canoe kind of calls, we did end up moving about 10 canoes to an off-site area,
Okay.
and they can just call me, tell them where the canoe is.
Well, that's good. I have a canoe in my yard. I think that's a good place to keep your canoe. As we've noticed that some of those canoes that were there had split open because of water and everything over the years, they've been abandoned. Yeah.
There were a few that weren't really seaworthy.
Okay. Okay. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And by the way, if you're hearing the sirens, we do have a structure fire here in Highlands, and Commissioner Pearson might be leaving us if things don't improve. Okay.
Where is it?
All right. Our next item, number 10, will be Michael Mathis presenting some preliminary and final plats.
Thank you, Mayor. So the first one under item 10 is the Bill Futural subdivision. I don't believe Bill's in here this evening, which makes me think I probably forgot to tell him the date of the meeting. So I'll try to answer all the questions that you have from it, but an application was submitted to the planning department by Bill Futural concerning a property subdivision on Holt Circle. According to a survey by Aaron Garrett Land Surveying, the subject property is 2.27 acres. The Town of Highlands zoning map indicates that the parcel is zoned R1 residential and is in the critical area of the town's water supply watershed 3. According to the Unified Development Ordinance, Section 8.2.1 dimensional standards, the minimum lot size for a property in this zoning and watershed district is 1 acre. According to the preliminary and final plat, the applicant proposes to subdivide the parcel into 2 lots. Tract 1 would be 1.14 acres, and Tract 2 would be 1.13 acres. The applicant has received septic approval from Macon County Environmental Health for each lot. Both tracts have access to town water. Currently, each lot doesn't have access to electricity. However, the applicant and the town's public works director have come up with a solution to solve this issue. The planning board reviewed this request at their last meeting. The recommendation is to approve the preliminary and final plat, and the staff recommendation is to approve the preliminary and final plat. And I believe Lamar could probably speak more. With the electricity situation, we've got confirmation from the applicant about what they're going to do moving forward.
Problem, pre-planted piece of property was purchased, which didn't have access to town electricity. It's only one pole, one span away. So we've come to agreement to perform just that, one pole and one span. And his contractors, he wants to put an underground transformer on the property line, proposed lots. And that's all of this is at his expense. But what we do to his expense, but it's purpose.
Okay. Any questions of Michael on this proposed plat?
Michael, I noticed on the plat itself, number 6, property's not been inspected for wetlands or flood hazards. The property that's indicated, larger piece owned by James Tate, is that where his house is?
Yes, sir.
I believe there's a creek that runs across these 2 parcels.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I don't know if on the map it's deemed a blue line, but there could be a tributary that feeds into one.
Our ordinance says that final plats are supposed to indicate creeks, rivers, streams, that sort of thing. I'd like to see him go back out and make sure that that's not on these 2 parcels, since the surveyor has not done that.
So typically, like I say, the surveyor usually does. I can ask and see if there was a stream on these 2 pieces of property. If there is, we can have him correct the preliminary and final plat showing the stream on there.
Just say Spring Head there.
No, it's the second, that's the other.
Oh. Okay.
It's a pretty low line area. It's low, real low.
Yeah, it drops down coming off of Mount Lori. Mount Lori
Yeah.
meets at that.
That old right there.
Yeah, those 2 properties meet, and there's a creek that runs down through there.
Okay.
And I noticed he did notate that the dotted line were not surveyed.
Okay. For that
And
other piece.
our ordinance doesn't say anything about blue line for these things supposed to be on the plat. It just says natural features like creeks and lakes.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe so. But typically, like I say, a surveyor, I mean, in my experience with them, whether it's blue line or not, they typically locate a stream. So if he hasn't, then he's just either
Yeah.
forgot or he didn't.
Yeah, that kind
Or
of
didn't see
surprised
it.
me because
They're typically on there. And like I
Yeah.
say, I had no idea. So I'll talk to Aaron, and if it's out there, and I can even go out and walk the property, if it's not, something needs to be on there, we can get it on there.
okay. Yeah, I think that Spring Head actually originates on Jimmy's property.
Okay. And I can also look back, Buzz, too, because this all used to be one piece, and then Jim had subdivided that parcel off that's actually getting subdivided now, so.
So we'll withhold approval until that's verified?
I think it's wet, is it not a do wet weather springs need to be located? Because I think that's more what it is.
I've been down there multiple times and over the years, it's always running.
Okay. Is this something can we go ahead and approve
We have
pending
to
the
verify that.
clarification on the?
That's up to y'all if you want to approve it, and then stipulation can be, no one signs it, the mayor doesn't sign it, because the mayor, me, and the planning board chairman all have to sign it before it's recorded, that this stream that's down there be located on there. Any other wetlands, marshes be located on there before this is signed and recorded with Macon County.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
I think that's okay, because it's just a technicality, but it does need to be on that.
Okay,
Okay.
and we will get it on there.
Then I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So
So moved. Second.
Second, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. All right, our next one, the Winship Partnership.
Yes, sir. So, this one's also on Holt Circle. So an application was submitted to the planning department by Winship Partners LLLP concerning a property subdivision at 651 Holt Circle. According to a survey by Aaron Garrett Land Surveying, the subject property is 5.42 acres. The town of Highlands zoning map indicates that the parcel is zoned R1 residential and is in the critical area of the town's water supply watershed 3. According to the Unified Development Ordinance, Section 8.2.1 dimensional standards, the minimum lot size for a property in this zoning and watershed district is also 1 acre. According to the preliminary and final plat, the applicant proposes to subdivide the parcel into 2 lots. One would be 1.57 acres, and the other would be 3.85 acres. The applicant has received septic approval from Macon County Environmental Health for the 3.85 acre lot. The 1.57 acre lot already has a dwelling on septic, town water, and electricity. The 3.85 acre lot has access to town water and electricity. Planning Board reviewed this request at their last meeting. The recommendation is to approve the preliminary and final plat, and the staff recommendation is to approve the preliminary and final plat as submitted. AJ Braswell is here representing the clients. And I also wanted to point out this piece of property was actually, if you'll remember, also subdivided off a few years back. And there was actually a stipulation, if you'll remember the piece that's, I guess, more to the east over there that's not really shown on here. There was a stipulation about the road that runs through it because the newly created lot was going to be serving a new property at that point. So we've actually made them make a notation on the map that the Sewell Road that runs onto that 3.85 acre lot is not a through easement or street. And I would like just to make it clear in the minutes that if this 3.85 acre lot is ever developed, they're going to have to create their own driveway off the whole circle. They can't utilize that existing one.
Well, I do have this question. Is there any possible access? Right now, it looks like that part is you come through the first piece of property and then go and access the 3.85. They could cut another access.
Yeah, off of Holt Circle. They'll
Okay.
have to because this already serves this lot and the one behind it. And then, of course, the one past that, we had to do this same notation because if you create a new lot, the driveway now serves 3 lots. It turns into a subdivision road at that point. So it would need to be upgraded. So this current driveway still only serves the 2 lots, the John Vincent Beto, the 3rd lot, and then this 1.57 acre lot. So any new development on the 3.85 acre lot will need its own driveway.
Okay.
The previous lot I might have was subdivided on the last will and testament of Jane Woodward, which was trust. So that lot was subdivided by the probate estate. It was directed by a will to be subdivided.
Okay.
I had a question on the 1.57 acre lot, which has an existing septic tank, and it does meet the dimension requirement of the critical area of watershed 3. But I don't see where the septic site is and where the repair area is.
So that was actually brought up at the planning board. AJ, if you would like to come up here and answer that question for them, that was a concern the planning board had actually had.
So the septic and the repair will not be shown on the final plat because that is on an improvement permit from the county. But Michael has the improvement permit to view if you'd like to view it.
Well, I have that improvement permit for the 3.85 acre.
Yes, now,
To prove this, what they're asking is this. So basically, the planning board had asked, just like you're alluding to, Amy, I assume, 1.57 acre piece that the septic may be on the other parcel and the
That's
repair
what I'm
area as well,
wondering.
because that's kind of what I thought too. So AJ had brought up that if it was, the surveyor would have had
the
to.
surveyor would have had to list it. When you do a land survey, a surveyor has to go out there and inspect the entire property from corner to corner. And that's why you see that spring head listed right here inside the property of the 3.85 acres. The septic repair is not, the septic nor the septic repair is, for the 1.57 acres is not located on 3.85 acres because the surveyor would have listed it on the 3.85 acres because then there would have had to been a septic easement to serve the 1.57 acres.
So even though the 1.57 acres is on here, they didn't survey it?
They were asked to survey this right here off of this right here. That is why it's being shown this way.
Well, my concern is when we make a subdivision like that, is the repair area on the 1.57
No, ma'am,
acres?
the repair area is not on the, it's not on the 3.85 acres. It is on the 1.57 acres. The
And
septic,
there is one, because
there is a septic.
prior
yes.
to a certain date in the 80s, you didn't have to have a repair area. And
Yes,
so
I
I'm trying to figure out if there actually is a repair area.
There is a septic and there is a drain field, if that's what you're asking about.
No, I
yes.
need a repair area too.
That's what a drain field is, a repair area.
No,
It's
no, you have to
No.
be able to
Same
repair
term.
a drain field. In other words, move it to a separate place.
I understand. And what I'm stating is this house, which Miss Woodruff owned for several years, and the septic was placed in, and like I'm saying, the surveyor would have listed the septic and the repair area if it had been the septic that served the house dwelling right there on the 1.57 acres. But it is not located on the 3.5 acres, the 3.85 acres, because the county could not have issued a permit for two septics and drain fields on the, I'm sorry, repair area drain field on the same parcel. And the county went out there, inspected it, and looked and made sure.
For the 3 whatever acre one. What I'm talking about is, are we making a lot from the 1.57 lot that no longer has enough area for a repair area?
And I'm trying to explain, the county would not have done that.
What?
You can't force them to go back and build, have a repair area on something that was
That's their
already
own loss.
in the ground.
If they lose their drain field, then they lose.
Yeah,
lost the
if
house.
the drain field fails, they're screwed.
I asked the environmental people this specific question. And they said we should never create a lot that does not have a repair area on it.
And
Because we are making a subdivision, which could mean that subdivision line could be moved so that they had a repair area. Even though it was prior to 1984 or whatever that was, where it says if anything was platted prior to that or built prior to that, it doesn't have to have a repair area. That's because if you didn't have room to have the repair area, they're not going to make you not have to have a repair area. But if we are creating this lot, they have to have a repair area. See, they had this entire 5-6 acre piece of property where they could have found a repair area if the one for this
Yeah, no, I
house
understand what you're
is.
saying.
Right. And so we would be creating this situation where there was no repair area. If they had a repair area when they had owned the entire piece of property, now we're making potentially, if we don't have a repair area on the 1.57 acres, that they can't repair.
But that's their problem.
No, the environmental people said, no, that's not the way it should work. We should never create a lot that doesn't have a repair area.
environmental people, can you elaborate?
The people who give you the septic permit,
Macon County Environmental Health?
yeah.
So Macon County Environmental Health has issued a permit for the 3.85 acres for septic and a drain field repair and a repair area. They went out and inspected the 1.5, I mean, they go out there and they look because they understand this is a subdivision of one lot, which was also previously a subdivision of a large parcel of property. And like I said, The Barbado property, this property to the west came off of this used to be a whole one big piece. And like I said, Miss Woodruff's estate directed that this Barbado property be split because I believe there's a cabin, they call it a cabin on this property. So it had its own septic and repair area, drain field. The 1.57 has its own septic, repair area and drain field. And the 3.85 will, because Mr. Woodruff, the owner of Winship Partners LLP, he has obtained the permit to place a septic on this property. So everybody will have their own, and the environmental
So
health has already
my only
approved it.
question is has Michael seen the place that has a repair area on the 1.57 prior to us dividing that up where maybe the repair area is there and maybe it's not? I understand the 3.85 has plenty of land for it. I understand the other one that was done. I'm telling you, we are making a lot that has a septic permit on it. But because of it was done in the 80s, I'm not sure it actually had to have a repair area there. Now, it does have to have a repair area.
But you cannot retroactively.
I'm not retroactive
Scratch.
because this was an entire big piece. It wasn't platted prior to that. In other
It was
words,
platted as a
what you're
parcel.
doing right now, exactly. It was one parcel. So they had plenty of area to find a repair area. They extra 3.85 acres, okay?
More than that.
Well, regardless, they still had plenty to do it. If we cut it back down to 1.57, I still need to know that they have a repair area on that 1.57 because we are creating a lot that was not platted in the 80s, which didn't have to have it, but is platted now.
And
I'm going to answer a question. I have not seen the improvements permit for the 1.557 acre, to answer your question. So I don't know where the septic's at. I don't know if that has repair area. I don't know if when Macon County was out there inspecting 3.85 acre, they walked over to the 1.57 and said, well, this has adequate space for a repair area. That could be something, if I could make a suggestion at this point, that could be something we could get them to do, provide to our office, say, get them to go back out there and say, hey, they do have adequate room for a repair area if the septic were to fail.
Well, adequate room is not the same thing as having where they agree to have a repair area.
however, retroactively applying state statutes regarding environmental health is not allowable. If there's a septic and a repair area or drain field, then, we can't say, you have to go get something else now. This is how it's set, and they'll tell you that in environmental health, or if Army Corps came out there, they would tell you that. As long as they have their septic, repair area, and drain field, they cannot retroactively come back and, you can't just say we can't split this lot because of that, where the lines are. This has to do more with, we've had Macon County Environmental Health would not have come out and issued a permit for the 3.85 acres to have a septic and drain field repair area if it did not, they're not going to come out and have one thing on one and then put another thing on the same lot. They would know that this has its own septic, drain field, and repair area. Does that make sense?
I don't care about the 3.85 because they have done their job out there. But nobody has told me that the
Okay,
1.57
let me put
has a
this scenario.
septic and a repair area, and the environmental health hasn't told me
Well,
that.
let me put this scenario to you then. Let's say that there was never a septic permit issued for the 1.57 acres. Let's say there was never one because it was pre-1980. What are we to do now? Are we to not split the lot just because there's no septic permit? Because that would be
No, you
a
could have,
violation
they can go
of
out
state
there and,
statute.
right, they can go out there, they have a septic permit according to what you're saying right now. All I'm saying is we should never make it worse than it was. In other words, when you had a 6-acre lot, you could have found a repair area for that one house, the one that's currently been built. If you suddenly subdivide it and only have 1.57 acres, maybe you have a acceptable area, not just amount of area, but an acceptable area for the repair area of the drain field. And maybe you don't. And until the environmental health tells me that there is an acceptable place I don't see how we can subdivide this.
Because I mean, this is a matter of law.
Well, let me ask you this question though.
Sure.
What happens on the 1.57 acres? So the guy, so someone's living on this property, their septic system fails, what do they do?
Well, so the same person, that owns the 3.85 acres owns the 1.57 acres, you understand that?
Right now.
But right
not-
now, but what about in the future is what I'm asking.
From my understanding, I mean, this was Miss Woodruff's, one of her houses that,
Sure.
that she owned in Highlands, which she owned a great many. My understanding is that it is a current 30-year lease with the Woodruff Trust. So I don't foresee this going out of the Woodruff Trust within the next 30 years because there
Okay.
is a set stone 30-year lease that was signed prior, maybe 2019, I'm gonna say. But the drain field and the septic and the repair area are for the 1.57 acres are on the 1.57 acres. I mean, there's.
That's
no
all I'm
doubt.
asking you to
Yeah.
show me and prove it to
Yeah,
me.
that's,
Well, I'm just saying,
That's all I'm asking.
environmental health would not go out and issue a permit for the 3.85 acres if the septic for the 1.57 acres was on the 3.85.
Because it was platted prior to that, they don't know it was on there or not.
So.
In other words, there was no platted repair area, but you had 6 acres to work in and find a repair area. Now you're gonna have less than 2 acres to have the drain field and a repair area.
So in your mind, where are you seeing the septic? Because it's definitely not behind the house by the spring
I
tank.
have no idea.
yeah, where, I mean, do you know where that is? Where is the septic?
The septic, from what I was told, is to the east over towards the gravel parking area. That is what I was told.
Okay, yeah,
By Mr. John Woodruff, who owns Windsor
Okay.
Partners LLP.
Bob?
And we've had a lot of discussion about this, myself, Mr. Woodruff, and Argent Trust Company in
Mhm.
Atlanta.
Bob, do you want to weigh in on this or any ideas?
So I think I understand the issue and the concern, and my recommendation is maybe continue this to your next meeting so that Michael and I can have some conversations, and yeah, that would be my recommendation. I think the questions that are being asked are very legitimate questions, but I think we need to get some answers.
And our next meeting would be December the 11th. We're on a short schedule.
Is where the repair area is.
yeah, it seems like something that could be cleared up very quickly.
Yeah. You willing to go back and clarify this for us and come back on the December the 11th?
I'm going to see what Macon County Environmental Health has, but I'm not going to promise anything.
Okay,
Because I'm going by what state statute says, and I'm not sure where we're going, what ordinances we're asking about right now. Because really, this is a matter of private property, and I'm not sure what your town ordinances might say about this, but Macon County Environmental Health has come out and approved this, so
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at with you.
well, let me ask Michael, can you get some information from Macon County Environmental?
Yeah, I'll check with the mayor.
Okay. All right.
I had one other question on this one too, and this is, even though it's it's in our critical area of the WS3 watershed, so it's water supply watershed, and even though it meets the minimum lot requirement of 1 acre, it also has a requirement of only 50% built upon, and I don't see anything on here that tells me how much built upon, because I don't know whether that's a impervious tennis court or whatever else is in that fenced area or any of those kind of things. And I think if we're going to approve something that's in our water supply watershed, we should know that it only has a 50%.
And that's listed on there.
Impervious.
It's 0.39 acres of built upon area, ma'am.
Who is this dude?
Where I forgot, I looked and I couldn't find it.
Hey, it's on the 1.57 acres, it's below it in bold, the 0.39 acres of built upon area.
Oh, this right here.
So it is less
Oh,
than
okay,
50%.
okay,
Yep, I see it.
okay. I was reading up here in the notes up at the top there.
Well, and it could it not be something too that if you need a repair area, I mean, it may need something, if it's not.
A septic easement?
Yeah, so I was gonna septic
A repair
easement to, a septic easement on that would go into the 3.85 acres, correct?
If a repair area that, I mean, there's plenty, I think in my mind, and I've worked with several surveyors
Yeah.
during my professional career. My mind would say there's plenty of room on the 1.57 acres for a repair area. You've only got 0.39 acres of built upon area.
Well, I don't think it's, I think what,
But I get where you're coming from. If there needs to be a repair area easement,
yeah.
it would be, you know, it couldn't be near the spring head, but it would be on the other side of the soil road, most likely.
Well, but I guess what I'm saying, or what Amy's trying to say too, is a repair area isn't necessarily just about space, it's about the soil quality and everything else.
Slope, everything else.
Yeah, so I mean, so like, I think the easy way, if there wasn't a repair area on there, whether it needs to be there or not, I mean, I think this kind of protects that lot too. It's not just us trying to be a pain. I would think that if I were gonna, at some point, own this lot, I would want to know that if my septic tank failed, I would have other options.
Well, again, the same person that owns the 1.57 owns the 3.85.
But that's not gonna happen.
Then why is he
Saying it
subdividing it though?
perpetuity.
That's what I don't get. Why would he subdivide it?
Mr. Woodruff wanted to split off some property, and like we said, you know, his plan was, his mother left him these certain pieces here, which
Sure.
was one. And then he had to split off this other to, I believe, maybe his grandson, I believe it is, Mr. Barbado.
Mm-hmm.
And it's held in trust, but this is all pursuant to a last will and testament and probate. So
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll talk to environmental health and
And then come back. We'll
Yep.
be on the agenda for the
I believe that's-
December 11th. Okay,
that will work.
thank you.
Michael, I've got one more question
Yes,
for you.
sir.
On the spring head, do we know where that water's going?
the surveyor would have listed if it was a creek or tributary. The spring head was listed on the survey, but he has not listed any lines of where it is going unless it's underground aquifer. You know, there's no, he has not listed a creek because I don't believe there is a creek running through that property.
But he didn't list
Well-
the creek on the previous.
Yeah, but if it's a spring,
But he's
it's
gone out
coming
there
out.
obviously and listed a spring head.
One
The
other,
water's got to go somewhere.
yeah, one other caveat to throw in here now, and I don't know much about them, but like, I know there's like engineered, septic systems that can go anywhere regardless of whether soil perks or not. I mean, would this not be a prime?
I just want environmental health. They said that they have it for the 3.85 acres, but they don't have it for the 1.57 acres. I just think that needs to be part of the process. And if it's there and they can do it with one of those low pressure systems, or the, whatever they're called, that are wrapped in that stuff, that's fine. I just need to know that that is a possibility. Before I say, okay, you've got 3.5 acres, take another half acre off that and put it over here so that we have a repair area.
Bob, do you still feel the same on that? I mean, what's your thoughts there?
No, I agree. I think we need to make sure that environmental health is okay with this. I get it. I know that if this was coming in originally, they would need to have a repair area.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I think give us a month to figure it out.
okay. All right, thank y'all very much. Appreciate it. Okay, our next item would be the Parkside Partners B1 conditional zoning request. Michael? And I
Yes,
think
sir.
we've got some representatives if y'all would like to come up.
Yes, sir, we do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, Parkside Partners Acquisitions LLC submitted a conditional zoning application to the planning department on November 6, 2024. According to the application, the petitioner is requesting a conditional rezoning from B3 commercial to B1 commercial conditional zoning district. Subject property, which is 299 Oak Street, is 1.09 acres and is located in the balance of the water supply watershed 3. According to section 4.5.1 of the Unified Development Ordinance, conditional zoning district decisions are legislative decisions subject to judicial review using the same procedures and standards of review as applied to general use district decisions. Before the Board of Commission rules on a conditional zoning request, the UDO requires that the zoning and planning board review the proposal and give their recommendations. The applicant is proposing to construct 8 detached single-family dwellings on the parcel. According to section 8.3.1 of the UDO, the B1 zoning district allows 1 residential dwelling unit per 2,400 square feet of lot size. The subject property His lot size is 47,480 square feet. If rezoned to B1, the UDO would allow up to 19 residential units. To serve the 8 residential units, the applicant is proposing to add between 28 and 30 on-site parking spaces. Section 9.1.7 of the UDO requires 2 on-site parking spaces for each dwelling unit. Additionally, there's a deed requirement reserving 12 parking spaces for the use and benefit of Oak Street property unto party of the first phase herein, his successors and assigns, and all other who may now or hereafter have the right of use of the same. Therefore, the UDO and deed require that the applicant provide a minimum of 28 on-site parking spaces, which they are. According to section 8.4.3 of the UDO, non-residential lots in the watershed 3, balance of watershed that exceed 1/2 acres are permitted a maximum of 50% built upon area. The built upon area calculations, which weren't provided to your agenda packet, have since been provided to me. So the post-construction built upon area for the site is 44%. That's 9,000 square feet in sidewalks and 13,000 square feet in buildings and paving. And the staff recommendation tonight is to send this application to the planning board and zoning board for review and recommendation.
I do have a question. And, that deed agreement calls for 12 parking spaces,
I believe so. Is it still in the deed like that?
It is,
Yeah.
it's noted as 12.
but I see 10 here.
Yes, sir. So the deed restriction that's tied to this parcel calls for 12. The zoning, requirement for the Alamo site calls for 10 off-site parking spaces.
Okay.
So we have met with both of the owners of the Alamo site and had numerous discussions, and they are good with 10, and we're gonna finalize that agreement, as this moves forward.
But it still would, with providing 28, they're still meeting the minimum for residential and the 12
Yeah,
required
I
by
just
deed.
couldn't find it that last two either.
Yeah.
And would that be, kind of a gated thing where the people from the,
Yes, sir.
Alamo
Would have
could
full
access it?
Full access, yes, sir.
But just a random person wanting to park there would be, and right now, that's what happens.
Correct. Right now, we've got numerous folks that use that, and a few, or at least one abandoned vehicle that's there that we'd like to clean up, and that will be controlled. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I never heard that called the Alamo before, but that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
So I move that we send this to the planning and zoning board.
Yes, ma'am. Planning and zoning.
Second.
Okay. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by raising your hand, saying aye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Unanimous.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And by the way, Michael, congratulations on your new arrival and your family. I know it's a change in your life.
Yes,
So
sir.
thank you
We
for being with
appreciate
us tonight.
Yes, sir. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, our next item will be financial matters, resolution for the water treatment plant. And Josh Ward, I'll turn it over to you.
So you've seen this resolution before with Dog Mountain. Now that we move into the second step of the water treatment plant improvements, we've got another resolution here for the grant that was given to us. It's administered by the Drinking Water North Carolina Environmental Quality. So we'll need to have the resolution approved first. And then second is the project ordinance that will cover all the expenditures for this project as it moves across different budget years.
Okay. Any questions concerning this resolution?
I move we approve the resolution.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by raising your hand, saying aye. Thank you. And then finally, the next item, water treatment improvement. Josh?
Yes, for the project ordinance, we will need to approve this as well.
Okay. Any questions of Josh on this?
So moved.
So this is the budget amendments, that's what you're talking about?
Correct, the project ordinance. So
Right.
auditors like to see a project ordinance where a project will be going across multiple budget years.
Right. Okay, and you made a motion to approve?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Okay, second. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand, saying aye. Thank you. Very good. Thank you very much. All right, our last item, Chamber of Commerce building lease. And let me say, I've had conversations and meetings with Bly Humfinger, the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce Board. I've had discussions with Kay McCann, and what their plan is to create, if you will, a visitor hospitality area around the bathrooms at Town Center that would be provide visitor information in the bathrooms. And they're in discussions with the owners of that center about making that transition to where they would be involved in providing this service to the people, the visitors on Main Street. I think that was kind of a condition that we were expecting will be out of that business, and it'll be between the chamber and the owners of this property. And with that said, I think it's time for us to move forward with just simply approving the chamber lease, the one that we've worked under for, a decade now. And I would like for the board to approve our town attorney to review that lease and share it with the folks at the chamber so we can be in a position at our next meeting to approve the chamber lease. I've had some good conversations with Bly. I think that there's some things that will be taking place next year that will clarify some issues that have been brought up about the chamber and the visitor center. And I'm willing to work with them in the county to review and make sure that some positive improvements will be made in the way we work with the chamber and the visitor center. So I would entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that I think that was a good, before I make the motion, I'll say, I think that's a good compromise. I think that was what we had had a consensus the last meeting, and I think it's a good, so I'm going to make a motion that we, I guess we're not going to approve the lease, but that we adopt that philosophy of keeping the lease the way it's been for the last number of years.
And ask
And
our
ask,
attorney.
yeah, and asking our attorney to review the verbiage, and come back with any recommendations, but then also the fact that we're no longer paying the $45,000 for cleaning restrooms in Town Place.
I think that's the caveat. They have to have that in place prior to us signing any lease,
Okay.
any zero payment lease.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can you explain what a visitor center consists of
I think
in
it'll be.
your mind and or theirs?
I think that's in process, but I think it would be a place where people get information if they're a visitor about, things to do in Highlands and so forth.
And do you know if that discussion is going as far as Mr. Lapoli?
I think that that's in process, but I'll verify that. And we have shared with the chamber the agreement that we've had with Mr. Lapoli.
But I think Amy makes a good point. I mean, wait till that's in place before we,
Okay.
yeah.
So.
Which I don't think should take long to get that in place. I can't
No,
imagine.
and basically what your motion would be is to ask the
Yeah, ask the
town
attorney,
attorney to.
ask Bob to review the
Preparing the
lease.
lease. Okay.
I don't think that needs to be a motion.
No, I think it's more of a consensus. Yeah.
Okay. If that's the case, we'll continue that process then. Okay?
Thank you,
Okay,
Mayor.
it gets down to, this is the last item is the adjournment. Any more comment before I call for a motion to adjourn? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you. Thank y'all.